Hello everybody, welcome to the video on situational interview questions for project managers from Career Ride. The role of a project manager to a great degree is about handling various situations and ensuring the successful completion of the project. Situations like conflicts in the team, resource constraints, continuous request for addition of new features in the product, managing the stakeholders are quite common for the project managers to face. And it is their response in such situations that ensures the smooth completion of the project. So, in today's video, let's see some important questions based on such situations, usually asked to the project managers during the interview, and the right way to answer them. The video is packed with rich insights that you will find useful in cracking your next interview. So, if you are really serious about getting that dream job, make sure you watch the complete video without skipping any parts of it. Ready? Fantastic. Let's start. Question number 1. If a conflict arises in your team due to the ego clashes between two team members, how would you handle the situation? A very common situation for your project manager to face. The sample answer to this question can be something like, well, I have been in a situation where the two team leaders with strong personalities couldn't agree with each other's approach. Both wanted the work to be done in their own way. I noticed this problem during a weekly team meeting and realized that if this issue is left on the back burner, the situation might explode in some days, delaying the project ultimately. I've experienced that in such situations, rather than giving the solution, the project manager has to work as a mediator and give the two parties an opportunity to listen and understand each other's point of view and approach, which they usually avoid doing on their own. In a personal meeting with both the parties separately, I realized that it is a problem of ego clash because both of them meant well for the project. So I decided to call a joint meeting where both the parties could present their approach and ask for clarifications. This simple exercise made them come to the conclusion themselves. Sometimes just an open communication in the presence of a senior is sufficient to sort the things out. And once the two parties agree to a common approach, they cooperate more with each other. Once an agreement was reached, I asked them to formalize it, decide their own roles, and complete the task in a given time frame that we agreed to. As per my experience, taking sides or trying to explain the advantages of any one approach looks like favoring one party, which makes the other side feel less valued and cooperate even lesser. Rather, when the two parties have to present their ideas in a formal environment, they themselves see the advantages and disadvantages of their approaches and come to a conclusion. The presence of the manager here ensures that they behave properly with each other and discuss things logically, as they realize that they are being watched by someone who means business. So, this is a sample answer from my side. You must have been in such situations yourself too. Just try to recollect them and explain what did you do to come out of them. And rather than focusing on the problem, let the focus of your answer be on the solution. Discuss the role of communication, formalizing things, right use of your authority, etc. and you'll be good to go. Okay, now coming to another important question that always comes with every new project and impacts a project manager's life. And that's our question number 2. Have you ever worked on a project where resources were a constraint? How did you go about it? Now see, what happens is most of the inexperienced project managers think of resource constraints as a limitation. But actually, it is these limitations that help you get creative and make the best use of your resources. So, more than anything else, this situation and question is a test of your perspective, creative thinking, and management ability. Going further, time and money are two constraints which are almost always there, be it any project. So, if you look at it that way, all of us have an experience of working with constraints. The most important things to discuss while answering this question are, number 1, clearly knowing the scope of your project so that you clearly know your requirements. Then, taking a stock of your resources, time, money, skills, tools, everything, so that you know your position clearly. Then, prioritizing the tasks which are vital to the project so that you manage your resources judiciously. This has to be decided in conjunction with the client. And as I said, getting creative with how to reach the end goal most effectively. Because it is in these times of constraints that you try to figure out the most effective ways. And many a times, they become your style forever. Communicating the scarcity of the resources to all the stakeholders is very important. This includes your team, client, management, everybody. Discuss with your team members the various ways to reach the end goal and choose the most effective and efficient way. Once you have a plan in place, formalize it, communicate it to everybody, and track your actual work based on this plan. Whenever required, make adjustments if you observe a fluctuation from the plan. The most important thing to remember here is while working within the limitations, you don't want to compromise on the quality of the final product. A project delivered within time and budget but not able to please the client is a waste of time and efforts. So, if I were to answer this question, this is the type of approach I would take. Moving on to another important question. Question number 3. Suppose you are managing a project where the client consistently keeps adding new requirements. How would you strategically handle this situation, ensuring project success despite the evolving demands? Now, see, this is one of the trickiest situations for a project manager because changing and increasing requirements don't just have an impact on the timeline and budget of the project, but also burn the team out many a times. To deal with this situation, organizations in every industry carry out a proper business analysis and sign an agreement which states the addition and change management process very clearly. Despite this, new requirements do keep emerging. To answer this question, emphasize on the importance of following things in your answer. The first one is establishing a proper channel for new requirements to be communicated. This is very important because you want to ensure that the new requirements don't just come randomly to anyone in your team through anyone from client's team. They need to come to the authorized person through another authorized person in the client's team. The second thing you want to do is request detailed documentation because asking the client to document the new requirement in detail is the best trick to handle this situation. What this does is it makes him think at length whether this is just a good to have type of requirement or a real necessity. Can the product get operational without it or not? Does it need to be worked upon in the first phase itself or can it be handled in the later builds? Because every new addition or change would extend the timeline and the client also understands this. If the requirement is vital and the product can't be operational without it, or client presses that this requirement has to be worked upon in the current cycle itself, carry out an impact analysis and find out how will this impact the current state of the product, the budget and the timeline altogether. Also talk about the importance of prioritization and trade-offs, which means if the project can't be completed on time with the request for new additions, having a clear discussion about any features that can be traded off to be worked upon in the next phase is very important. And you can't really undermine the importance of communication. So this communication is very, very important, where you clearly tell the client how these expectations are going to impact the timeline and the budget. At the same time, it is very important to keep the team also informed when you agree to include any such request for new features. It helps in ensuring that your team doesn't feel burnt out with these requests for changes and additions. So these are some important situational questions that you may face in your interview as a project manager. This series on interview questions for project managers from Career Ride already has videos that covers questions on emerging trends and HR interview. Do take a look at them also. The links are available in the description box and the pinned comments below. Very soon, we'll also get you the videos on conceptual questions asked in project management interviews, Agile and Scrum interview questions, etc. To make sure that you don't miss upon those videos, subscribe to the channel now. If you have found today's video useful, do give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends also. I'll see you very soon with a new video. Till then, bye-bye and take care.